All right, so basically we are here to discuss about this Ariba SAP Ariba webinar. So basically, before going ahead, like to talk about SAP Ariba. So let's have a quick introduction from to everyone. So first, let me quickly introduce about myself. Then I'll come up with you as well. So I would like to hear you from about your experience. If you have some experience in the SAP Ariba or in whatever technology you have the experience, and if you know about something Ariba as well, please mention that part also. And what actually you are expecting from this training. So if you can mention those information as well, it will be very helpful for me to drive this webinar. So let me quickly introduce about myself. So myself is Vikram, and I'm working in this SAP from last around 12 years. And during these years, I work in the different area in the SAP. So I have started my career as SAP consultant, and later I moved to the SAP S4HANA. And after that, I'm working in the SAP Ariba. So basically, I'm working in the SAP Ariba from last around 5 years. And I have implemented that couples of the project for the US client. So that includes that is upstream, downstream, commerce automation, and supply chain collaboration as well. So currently I'm working with this big four MNC in this Bangalore location where I'm looking this SAP Ariba and the S4HANA offerings. All right, let's go ahead. So basically, in the next, we will talk about like about SAP Ariba. So before that, like who can join or who can like take this SAP course? That's something we'll discuss. So basically, any of this IT professional they can join this course. So if that SAP the IT professional like SAP professional, they have that experience of the SAP MM or even they have the knowledge of the SAP MM or SAP SRM, that basically will be add-on for them. So definitely they can join. Even it's not only for the SAP MM and SAP SRM or only for this SAP Express guys. Even the other guys like who have any technical like information, technical experience in this SAP or non-SAP or any domain experience. Like sometimes the people who have this like domain experience of the purchasing or as the end user or the warehouse people as well, or any freshers or any graduate, so they can also join this training. So basically, SAP Ariba is that covering this all the purchasing activities. So that a freshers as well, like who do not have any experience or any knowledge about the SAP Ariba, they can also easily learn this SAP Ariba. So in today's webinar, like we'll talk about like SAP Ariba. So what is SAP Ariba, that we'll discuss, and we'll also try to find out the most like the answer of the most important questions like why SAP Ariba, and even we'll also try to find out like why basically we have to go with the SAP Ariba, what what will be our career in the SAP Ariba, how will be the market growth or our career growth in the SAP Ariba. That's something we'll discuss, and we'll talk about SAP Ariba solutions offering. So whatever the solutions that Ariba is offering, that we'll discuss, and we'll also talk about the integration part. And if time permit, we'll discuss about the implementation like approach, how we have to implement the SAP Ariba to our customers. And I'll show you that Ariba system as well, like we'll navigate to our dashboard in the Ariba system, and we'll see how Ariba screen or Ariba system looks like. And we'll also discuss about the course curriculum, that whatever topic that we are going to discuss in our regular session. All right. And in between of this, like if you will have any question, even we'll take the one quick pause, like in some intervals, and whenever you will have any questions, you can that interrupt me at that time, and definitely I'll try to catch up those questions as well. Now, basically, let's talk about what is SAP Ariba and why we have to go with the SAP Ariba. So SAP Ariba is the cloud-based procurement solutions like for the interactions between buyer and that supplier. So basically, now these days, every company, like even though whatever that business or whatever that line of business they have, so most of the companies they are doing the purchasing activity. So let's say, for example, if we have the customer A and customer A, they have the business of the manufacturing like process, but for that as well, they are purchasing some raw materials, some of the input materials, some of these packaging materials, or some other materials or some other item. So they are purchasing to maintain their production activity. Or let's say if we have the customer B, so customer B they have the line of business is something, let's say sales activities. So in that case as well, like they are basically purchasing that the item, and they are keeping that item in the stock and they are selling to the customer. So each and every customers basically they are maintaining doing the purchasing activity to maintain their business process. And this purchasing activity is happening between these buyers and the sellers. So we are basically acting as the buyers, and whenever we have to purchase any of the particular product, so product means it could be your materials or it could be your services. So whenever we have to purchase any of the particular product, we have to purchase from the supplier. So SAP Ariba is something providing our solutions as the cloud-based solutions and which is supporting to your procurement activities. So whatever the different kind of procurement activities or whatever different process we have to follow in the procurement activities, so those activities we can do with the SAP Ariba. And this is some completely like cloud-based solutions. So what is basically cloud-based solutions? Just for the simple understanding, like whenever we have to open any of this site or any of the URL, so what basically we are doing, so we have to open our browser. So based on your system compatibility, whatever browser you are using, like a Chrome, Mozilla, or whatever. So we have to simply open that browser and enter this our particular URL or particular company site, and we can simply execute that site and we can start working. So for example, if you have to open our, we have to perform this something net banking, we have to simply go on this like a particular bank site, and from there we can log in and we can start our transactional activities or whatever activities we have to perform. So that is basically the cloud solutions. So in the cloud solutions, no need to install any different hardware, no need to install any the different software. So whatever the basic like applications you have, with the basic applications, you can simply start your working. That is basically the cloud-based solution. So to use this SAP Ariba, that we required only the internet connections and whatever like browsers like that we are using based on our system compatibility. Based, so with the help of the browser, we can simply start working on the SAP Ariba. So that is basically the cloud solution. And it is pretty much similar with the SAP MM and the SAP SRM. So this is something, some technical term, SAP MM and SAP SRM. So the people who are from the SAP background, they can easily understand about SAP MM and the SAP SRM. So if you see in the SAP MM and the SAP SRM, so we have the similar functionality of the procurement activities, like whatever the purchasing activities we are doing. So for example, if you have to create the purchase acquisition, we can create in the SAP MM. If we have to create the purchase order, or if we have to create the contract, or if you want to go with this request for quotation, those activity we can do in the SAP MM and also in the SAP SRM as well. So this SAP Ariba is quite similar or pretty much similar with the SAP MM and SAP SRM as well. So whatever process that we are following in the SAP MM, same process we have to follow in the SAP Ariba as well. All right. Now let's talk about why SAP Ariba. Why we have to go with the SAP Ariba? So let's say, for example, your customer, they are using like SAP MM, or might be they are using some different that technology. Might be they are using Oracle, they are using Coupa, or whatever. They have different like technology are available in the market. So when you will get a chance to discuss with your customer, and if you will approach your customer like, hey, why we cannot go? You cannot go with this SAP Ariba. So first question your customer will ask you how much cost it will incur. So every customer they are thinking costing point of view. So how much cost will be there? So if you tell me, if you will tell, like for example, if you tell like it will cost you around $100. I'm just giving very simple example just for understanding. So definitely they will come back to you and they will ask you like why we have to go with SAP Ariba, why we have to spend our $100, what benefit we will get with the SAP Ariba. So whatever technologies we are using, like you are saying, all the purchasing activity we can do with the SAP Ariba, but I can do in my legacy system as well. Like for example, I have the SAP MM, I can do in the SAP MM as well. So why we have to go with the SAP Ariba? Whatever the benefit we will get, that something is very important we have to understand. And even later point of time, whenever you will get a chance to that to work in any of the Ariba implementation project, so basically during that initial step, we also have to provide the demo to our customer, and we have to approach them to go with the SAP Ariba, and we have to explain the Ariba features and Ariba benefit in very layman language, so that your customer can easily understand and they can go with the SAP Ariba itself. So that is why it is very essential that we should know why we have to go with the SAP Ariba. Yeah. So to understand this, that to get this questions of this sorry, to get the answers of this question, let's take some let's take some example. So we can, the first example, we can take our banking activities. So if you go just 5 to 6 years ago, like if you go in the 2015 or 2014 or 2016, and if you just realize, so that time, whenever we require to perform any of these banking activities, like any of these activities we have to perform, which is related to the banking like process. Like if you want to make any debit, or if you want to make any credit, or you have to transfer some amount to someone else. So whenever like we have to perform this activity that time, so what we were doing that time basically, so that time we have to visit our nearest branch, right? So whatever nearest branch was there, so we have to visit nearest branch, be in the queue, like we have to fill up the form, be in the queue, and once our queue arrives, so accordingly, like based on our requirement, we were able to perform our activities. Like if you want to do some credit, then you can do, or if you want to make any debit, that we can do, right? But this time, now this time, if you have to perform, like let's say I'm saying, hey, can you please send me the 2000? Whatever you can assume, like dollars or rupees, whatever. Can you send me something 100? So will you go to bank, like your nearest branch? Will you be like that stay in the queue, or will you go like to fill the form? No. Or will you spend that much time? How much you were spending that time of period? Definitely no. So what you will do now? So if you will say yes, I can do now. So what you will do? Even this time you can simply perform this the transitional activities within fraction of second. So how you can do this time you can do perform this activity in the within fraction of second, or how you can do like based on your that feasibilities. So why you do not have any restrictions this time basically? So why it is not there? Because this time basically the customer is the important, like very important, and customer is basically the focus for every supplier. So basically, that every supplier or every services, customer is the main element, customer is the key element, and to simplify the customer process, customer business process, all that simplifications happen as of now in our environment. So how we can do like this activity as of now basically? So this time you can. So we were talking about about why SAP Ariba. So I was talking about with some example about our banking activities. So this time basically now these days the things are completely simplified and customer is basically on the focus. So that is why that this time we have lots of simplification. We have the different applications, and even like we have the different options as well. So whenever we have to perform any of these banking activities, like you have to transfer any amount, or you have to send some, like you have to do some like debit as well or credit as well, you can quickly do with some different application. So why we can do basically like the things are simplified, and this time basically the internet of things are going on. So this era basically is called as the internet, and most of the activities whatever we are doing basically, so we are doing over the internet itself. So that is why the things are very simplified. Okay. Now let's take one more example just to understand that again why SAP Ariba. So we are basically purchasing like many of the products items from the e-commerce site. Like we are purchasing from this Amazon, sometimes we are purchasing from this Flipkart or eBay or whatever. So whatever different that e-commerce site are available, so we are doing the purchasing. So same way, if you go few years back, like if you go in the 2015 or 2016 or 2017, something like that. So that time also we were doing the same kind of purchasing, but that time basically we had lots of restriction. So that time, whenever we were placing any of this order on this e-commerce site, so we did not have that flexibility that we can track the orders. And even that time, we do not have any that option that we can that change the delivery as well. So whenever the delivery basically that is determined by the supplier, and they were determining like when the delivery will be happen. Even most of the time like when we ordered, so because we were not able to to track that entire our shipment. So when we are getting that product, so that time we have to stay in our home, or we have to talk to someone else, like today my parcel will come, can you please receive it, right? But now these days, same way, if you see in these days, so these days basically the things are simplified. So again, this day basically it's up to you. Whenever you want to have the delivery, you can have the delivery. Even might be for due to some reason, if your delivery is coming for tomorrow's date, and tomorrow you will not be available, you have the flexibility. You can change the delivery date as well, right? So like that, we have the lots of simplification in our process from the customer point of view. So same way, if you see from business process point of view, so since most of the activities this time we are doing over the internet, that means we can say as the on cloud. So every customer, so the customers who is using like SAP MM or SAP SRM or some other legacy system, so they are also looking some digital platform where they can perform these activities or the purchasing activities over the internet, and they want to have the clear, or we can say that more much transparency between the supplier itself. So whatever activities that a customer they are doing from the purchasing point of view, those information system should give to supplier, and whatever the fulfillment the supplier they are doing, that information should also communicate to the buyer as well. So due to this reason, the customers are looking some platform or some digital platform where they can perform like their business activities, or we can say purchasing activities over the like internet. So SAP has basically given the solution to the SAP Ariba. So SAP Ariba is offering this cloud solutions to customer, where customer can perform their procurement activities over the internet with the help of the cloud solutions, or we can say, in other words, with the help of the Ariba network solutions. Okay. Now let me give you one more example, just to understand again why SAP Ariba. So this is a little bit technical. So if you go in the SAP MM, and in the SAP MM, whenever we are creating the purchase requisition, like with the help of this like a Fury applications, or with the help of these transactions, that is ME51 and transactions. So whenever we are creating the purchase requisition in the SAP MM, so usually if you calculate the time, so that basically will take around 4 to 5 minutes, right? So why it is taking 4 to 5 minutes? Because we have to provide the information in the different fields, and sometimes we have to provide the information in the different type itself. So that is why if the persons are not expertise in that area, so they are getting confused like which field information they have to enter or which field information they have to skip. Or might be if that person is very new, so in that case definitely they will not be able to create by on, so they will expect some help from their teammates, right? So in that case, the since to create one requisition, let's assume that customers they are spending 3 minutes, we can say 4 minutes like that. Now same way, if you will offer the other option to customer, where customer can create the purchase requisition within the second, so might be within 30 seconds he will able to create the requisition. So what do you think? Will customer will be happy? Like will he expect accept that particular solution? Of course he will expect. He will accept the solution. Why? Because they are spending lots of time, lots of that bunch of time, that time basically to create the requisition on daily basis. So if you are going to provide any different solutions to customer, where customer can perform that create the purchase requisition within fraction of seconds, or within by saving this 80% or 70% time, so definitely the customer will be very happy, and they will approach, they will accept that particular solution. So SAP Ariba is offering the same solution to customer, like with the help of the the SAP Ariba, the customer can perform their purchasing activities, that by improving the efficiency, by minimizing this that basically time, or we can say by reducing the cost as well, so they can improve their purchasing activities like with the help of the SAP Ariba. Okay. Just one thing I would like to add here. So SAP Ariba. So here we have the two terms, SAP and the Ariba. So SAP is the different entity and Ariba is the different entity. So don't assume like Ariba is SAP product. So Ariba is not the SAP product. Both are the different entity itself, or we can say separate entity itself. So SAP different company, Ariba is a different company. So Ariba is a different company, and Ariba is basically founded in the 1996, I think. And in the 1996, the Ariba were offering the same sourcing and procurement solutions to customer, but in the form of the on-premise solution. So that time basically Ariba company they were offering this procurement solutions to customer as the on-premise solutions. And later, like Ariba realized, like customers, they are adopting this internet solutions itself. So they have introduced this cloud solutions in 2010. So in 2010, Ariba has given this cloud solutions to customer. And in 2010 itself, they were offering both the solutions to the customer, like a cloud and these on-premise solutions as well. So in 2012, that SAP, they acquired the SAP like Ariba, and they reformed as the SAP Ariba itself. So they have not completely acquired this Ariba with some sharing basis around 80-20 we can say. So they acquired this Ariba and they have reformed as the SAP Ariba. So that is why if you go in the SAP Ariba system, or whenever you will read this SAP Ariba, so you will see the Ariba logo is still there. So why Ariba logo is still there? Why not the SAP logo is there? Because of this, that agreement, and because of this, we can say this acquiring itself. So after 2012, that this Ariba become the SAP Ariba, and after 2012 itself, the Ariba is become more popular because of the SAP brand. And after acquiring this Ariba, the SAP made lots of changes in this Ariba product. So first of all, they have removed, they have eliminated this on-premise solutions to customer, and they have circulated this information to customer that they are not going to support anymore, no more anymore to the on-premise solutions. And every customer who is using on-premise solutions, they have to migrate to the SAP Ariba Cloud solutions. And also, if you see from that module point of view or solution point of view, so they made lots of simplification in that process. They made lots of simplification in this module itself. So some of the modules they have removed, like for example, we can say travel and expense. So this was the module that Ariba were offering earlier, but when the SAP acquired, they removed this travel and expense, and they have introduced the new module that is called as the Concur. So in most of the company, if you see, so Concur is being used for all the travel and expenses activities. So like that, SAP has made lots of changes in the Ariba, and it becomes now SAP Ariba. All right. Now we'll go in this I will open my notepad and we'll try to understand some Ariba the solutions offering, and we'll try to map this business process as well with this Ariba solutions offering. But before that, is there any question from anyone?
Hi Vikram, Neha here.
Hi, hi Neha.
You just mentioned that SAP has replaced Ariba's travel and expense module by what? By what
Conquer,
module?
conquer, conquer.
Sorry.
CON. Conquer. This conquer.
Okay, thank you.
Any further question from anyone? All right. Okay, so now let's talk about SAP Ariba Solutions offering. So before going to talk about SAP Ariba Solutions offering, let's talk about business process. This is very important to understand. So since Ariba is supporting to your procurement solutions, or we can say purchasing processes, so we have to understand the business process, like to purchase any of the product, whatever different processes that our customer is following, that we have to understand. So let's say, for example, that customer, we have the customer and they want to purchase raw material, let's say this material they want to purchase, and this material they are going to purchase the first time. They have never purchased this material, this item from any of the supplier. Even they do not have the much information about the supplier itself. So they are going to perform the purchasing activity for this item first time. So in this case, whatever the process they have to follow, let's try to understand. So in this case, what they will do first, so they have to search the supplier, right? So this activity they can do that as offline. Offline means outside of the SAP Ariba, or even SAP Ariba is also offering this option to customer. Like if the Ariba, they already have the Ariba subscription and they want to search any of the particular supplier, for the particular item, for the particular product, they can search over the Ariba network itself. like in the form of the Ariba discovery. So it depends on the customer, like that choice what they have. Accordingly, they have to search the particular supplier. Now, once you will have the like the supplier, so in the next we have to perform supplier onboarding. So what is basically supplier onboarding? Supplier onboarding means like maintaining or creating the supplier information in our system. So whatever system you are using, like during searching of the supplier, what we'll do, we'll only collect supplier information. So might be we can maintain supplier information in one Excel sheet, right? Or we can maintain the supplier information in one notepad, like a supplier name, supplier number, contact number, email address, like this. Yeah, but that information you are maintaining for your own usage, right? But basically later point of time you are not going to only use this information will be applicable to your entire team. How you can communicate this information to your entire team? So for that we have to perform the onboarding. Now whatever the process we are following, like let's say you are following SAP SAP SRM, S4HANA, whatever. So we have to create the supplier record in the system, that is basically called as the supplier onboarding. Even in the supplier onboarding, we have some other processes as well that we'll discuss like later. But in the second step, we have to perform supplier onboarding activities. Yeah. Now, once we'll do the supplier onboarding, like once we'll have the supplier information, so in the next we'll perform supplier negotiation process. This is basically very important. Every customer, they have this like that like we can say they want to perform this, like they want to do this negotiation process. Every customer, even we are also the customer, and whenever we are purchasing any of the product from any of the supplier, even though we are getting some like the lowest price from the supplier, but still will ask, can we do some negotiation? Why we are doing? So the buyer aim is basically like to always go in the reverse way, reverse direction. So we want to save our money. So we are just hoping if I will ask this statement to supplier, might be even though we are getting that like that best price, but he will reduce some more price as well, right? So this is a very important activity that every customer they are doing, that is the supplier negotiation, or we can say like that quotation process as well. Yeah. Once we will have the supplier negotiation, so as the outcome of the supplier negotiation, we have to like that we will have the particular supplier, and later, if you want, you can sign off a contract, or we can say legal agreement as well. So why basically we have to sign off the contract or legal agreement? So whatever the things that we discussed with the supplier during supplier negotiation, so might be supplier is saying, okay, no issue, you if we will give you this price or this best price, but if you do the shopping of $2,000 every month, I'll give you 10% of the discount. Or if you do the shopping of the like 5,000 in every month, I'll give you something like 20% of the cashback. So like that you may get the different discount from the supplier. But those things, those discussions happens orally. We do not have any document where we have the sign up from the supplier as well. Like, yes, I agree to give the 10% of the discount or to give the 20% of the cashback. This information not available here. So then what to do? So we have to sign off a contract, and in the contract we have to mention all the pricing information, whatever you received from the supplier, and we have to take the sign up from the supplier itself for proof, right? So this activity we have to do. So we have to basically sign up the contract. But again, most of the customer they are creating the contract. But again, it depends on the customer choice. If they want to skip, they can skip. It's up to them. Now, once we'll have this process, in the next, what we'll do, we'll create purchase requisition, and this purchase requisition basically is also called as that like that indent as it indent also. Indent means like a kind of requisition, request for purchasing, that we are using this word in this domain industry. Then we have to go with this purchase order. Next, we have to receipt the item. That means we have to do the receiving. We have to receive the invoice as well, and based on the invoice, we have to do this payment to the supplier. Right? So now we are following this process to purchase any of the product. Now it depends on the nature of the product. It depends on the situation. If for that particular item, particular product, if you have that identified supplier, no need to perform this activity, no need to do. what you can do, you can simply perform this activity itself. It's up to you. So basically it depends on the requirement, right? Now if you see overall, so this process basically called as the sourcing and procurement. Why it is called as a sourcing? Because if you see in this process, what we are doing, we are just determining the source, right? Source means supplier. And in this process, what we are doing, we are basically purchasing, right? That is why this process is called as a sourcing and a procurement. Like with the help of this process, we are just determining the source, like from which supplier we have to purchase that particular product. And with the help of this process, we are simply just doing the purchasing. That means we are actually purchasing that item from the supplier. So to meet this customer requirement, to meet the sourcing and sourcing and that procurement process, the Ariba has given the solutions. So Ariba solutions is divided in the two parts. One basically is called as the upstream, and second is called as the downstream. Okay. Now what is basically upstream? So upstream is supporting for the sourcing activities. Like here, we have the three different module, that is supplier, sourcing, and the contract. These three modules are available in this upstream, and in downstream we have the two modules, that is called as the Ariba procurement, or we can say Ariba buying invoicing as well, or P2P as well, and we have the catalog. So these two solutions are available as a part of the downstream solution. So what we can do basically with the help of the upstream, like here we have the supplier solutions. So with the help of the supplier solutions, we can perform the supplier onboarding activities. So we have to basically create the supplier information in the system. We have to perform some supplier registration, supplier like qualification activities, or preferred supplier activities. Those activities we can do with the help of the supplier solutions. Now in the next we have supplier negotiation process. So supplier negotiation process we can do with the help of the sourcing module. So with the help of the sourcing module, whatever different kind of negotiation activities you want to perform, we can perform with the help of the sourcing module. So for example, sometimes we are doing that normal pricing negotiation. Sometimes we are doing some competitive bidding, competitive negotiation as well. Or sometimes we are doing the information negotiation. So whatever different kind of negotiation that you want to do, we can do in this sourcing module. Now in the next, we have the contract. So with the help of the contract module, we can simply sign up the contract with the customer, sorry, with the supplier. So whatever information you want to include in the contract, that we can include, and we can take the sign up from the supplier itself. That means with the help of the upstream, we can perform our sourcing activities. Now, if you come to downstream, so here we have the Ariba procurement and the catalog. So with the help of the Ariba procurement, we can perform our P2P activities. This is basically called as the P2P activity, like creating the purchase requisition, purchase order, receipt, invoice, payment, and payment. So this is called as the P2P process itself. So here, with the help of the Ariba procurement solutions, we can perform that P2P process like a P2P activities. Now, in the last, we have the catalog solutions. So with the help of the catalog solutions, we can configure the product hierarchy in this Ariba. So what is basically product hierarchy? Like if you go to Amazon or Flipkart, and if you search any of the particular product, so let's say you have to purchase a laptop, you will mention type the laptop and you click on the search. Now once you click on the search, the system will deliver you the list of item in the search result. So whatever item you can see, so basically in the item you will not see only item information, you will see other information like what is the price, what is the different term and conditions are applicable for this item, right? Who is a supplier, what is supplier rating, like that we have different information. So same way we can also create the catalog or hierarchy in this SAP Ariba as well with the help of this catalog solution. Okay, so this is basically that's Ariba solutions offering. Any question here?
Hi Vikram, Neha here.
Any here?
Yeah, what kind of products, like is it the production products we look for the procurement or non-production or either kind of in Ariba?
Yes, that is very basically very good question. So if you see like from that business point of view, so we are doing the two different kind of like the procurement activities, or we can say purchasing activities, or we can simplify this statement. So in other words, we can say we are basically purchasing two different kind of item from the supplier, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are those items? So those item we can say stock item, right? And second we can say non-stock item. What is basically stock item? So it is called as the direct material in the SAP point of view, or in SAP term, it is called as the direct material. And second is basically non-stock is called as the indirect. Okay. Now that material means that materials which are directly like relevant to your process. So for example, let's assume you are in the manufacturing industry. So let's assume you are manufacturing the soap. Now to manufacture the soap, you need some input item. That might be you need some different kind of raw materials, right? You need like that some packaging item. So some different items you required. So those items basically will be called as a direct item because these are directly like that relevant to that purchasing sorry manufacturing activities. So what usually we are doing, so we are not purchasing this item on daily basis and based on the requirement. So for example, tomorrow we have the plan to manufacture only the 100 quantity. So you will not purchase this like input item only for the 100 quantity. So what we are doing basically, we are keeping that item in our stock, right? So we are purchasing some in the bulk quantity, like we are considering some 5 to 6 days or 7 days or 10 days. It depends on the like requirement. So we are just like calculating the stock, like how much stock that we required to manufacture in this 10 days or 7 days, whatever, and we are keeping that item in the stock. So that is basically your stock item, or we can say direct material. Second is this like non-stock item, that is the consumables. So very simple example we can say, let's say you have to purchase the laptop. So from the office point of view, you have to purchase the laptop. So basically, laptop it dip is a consumable item. So our like that warehouse department or our IT team, they are not keeping that laptop in this like in the stock, right? So what basically they are doing, so based on the requirement, whenever they required or any new employees are going to join, so based on that only they are purchasing their new laptop immediately. So this is a kind of like that indirect item, or we can say non-stock item. So to purchase this both the product, like SAP Ariba given the two solutions. So whatever the downstream part we are discussing here, this Ariba procurement is only applicable for the non-stock. So here I will mention, or let me just mention here itself for the non-stock. That is for the indirect. And if you want to use for like that SAP Ariba solutions for this like to purchase the direct material, so for this Ariba has given the different solution that is called as the Ariba supply chain collaboration. Okay. So now coming to your question, like this SAP Ariba solutions is like covering both the purchasing like direct and indirect, but this basically we in our course we are going to talk about S2P process. S2P means source to determine source to pay process. That means we'll talk about upstream, we'll talk about downstream as well. So in this case, we only discuss about non-stock item purchasing, that is the consumables item purchasing. We'll not talk about stock item. That will not be in our scope.
Okay.
Did I answer the question?
Yes. So basically, Ariba deals with indirect material that are required for that supports the end product, not the manufacturing direct material, right? That's
No,
what
no,
it.
no, no. Ariba supporting both. That's what I told you. Ariba supporting both. Ariba
Mhm.
supporting for that material like purchasing and for the indirect material purchasing as well. So we
Okay.
have both the solutions. But in our course, we'll talk about only the indirect material purchasing. That is
Okay.
basically like in the Ariba procurement. If you want to use for direct material purchasing Ariba solutions, for that we
Mhm.
have to go with the Ariba supply chain collaboration.
So the Ariba supply chain collaboration is a separate module within
Yes,
Ariba itself.
exactly correct.
Okay. I have one more question regarding
Mhm.
this upstream. You said supplier sourcing and contract. The sourcing
Right.
is the negotiation with the supplier, right?
Right.
So negotiation with respect to all kind of terms that we are looking for, right? With respect to purchasing, the discounts, the delivery time, and whatnot. All those negotiations will come under the source.
Basically, delivery time negotiation usually we are not doing. We are doing, but we are not mainly focusing on that, like that delivery time, because that also, because every supplier, based on this, like their location, they required, like that some time to deliver the item, right? For
Mhm.
example, if you want to purchase any item, you are located in the Delhi and your supplier is in Chennai location, and if you say I need this item only within 1 hour, that is my requirement. Will he
Mm.
deliver the item? No, right?
No.
So we are basically, we have to make some agreement in this case, like for the delivery time. So again, we also have to take care about the suppliers, like that plan delivery time as well. How much time they require to, like that to process our purchase order, to process our, like that to fulfill our delivery. So very different thing itself. But yes, so if you talk about other term like price of that, like item, discount, cashback, or we can say some scale based pricing, or like some other, like that pricing term, like delivery cost, that means shipment cost, labor charges, courier charges. This type of negotiation we can do with the help of the sourcing solutions.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. All right, so let me just go to this our course content now, and we'll talk about, like whatever the topic we are going to discuss in, like this our regular session. So for that, I'll come to our course structure, and basically in this initial session we'll talk about, like about this Ariba basics. So we'll talk about like what is SAP Ariba, how we can log in the SAP Ariba, how we can basically navigate that our dashboard, and that basically whatever the different options are available in our dashboard. That's something we'll discuss, like in this initial session. So after that, we'll talk about, like that we'll start discussing on this our Ariba solutions offering, and we'll discuss about, like that supplier solutions. So mainly we have the SLP solutions there. We'll talk about SLP, and even we'll also talk about SIPM as well. So SIPM solutions basically is not available now, but might be some of the customers who have already implemented, like that this SIPM module. So still they have not migrated to the SLP. So in that case, it is very essential to understand the differences about SIPM and the SLP, and we have to also understand how the process, is works like working in this SIPM. Because sometimes if you get a chance to work in the any support project, so in the support project, basically your customer, they will expect to have that experience in the SIPM because they have the SIPM module, right? So that's something we'll discuss, like during our supplier session. So we'll discuss in detail, like what is SLP, what is about SIPM, how basically we have to create supplier request or supplier registration, what is supplier qualification, that we'll discuss. Later we'll start discussion on the Ariba like sourcing module. So we'll discuss different kind of negotiation activities, whatever different negotiation activities that we have to do, like let's say for that information negotiation, pricing negotiation, or like that some competitive negotiation. So that's something also we discuss. And the next we'll talk about, like the contract part. We'll talk about in the detail level what is basically Ariba contract, how we can create the contract, like that in detail. So that's something we'll discuss. And then we'll also talk about the contract compliance. So contract compliance basically is very important, and this is the basic solutions are available as part of the Ariba P2P. How basically we can create the contract compliance, whatever different scenarios will be there. We'll talk about the scenarios in detail level. And in the next, we'll talk about, like P2P process. There we'll talk about, like that end-to-end process of the P2P. Like we'll talk about purchase requisition, we'll talk about purchase order, we'll talk about like contract. I'm sorry. We'll talk about receiving. We'll talk about invoicing. So payment basically will not be able to do in this test side, but we'll talk about, like the P2P process, like up to the invoice, and we'll see the end-to-end cycle, how we have to create the, like purchase requisition, how we have to create the purchase order. That's something we'll discuss. We'll also discuss about the guided buying. So guided buying is, like the simplified solutions of the Ariba P2P. So what process we can perform in this like a guided buying. That's something we'll discuss, like how what is guided buying, whatever different options are available in the guided buying. That's something we'll discuss. In the next we will talk about like reporting part. So reporting, basically in reporting we'll discuss about different kind of reports, whatever reports are available in the SAP Ariba, like SD package report or a standard report. That's something we'll discuss. In the next we'll talk about like that integration part. So integration part basically is a very important, and even like when you will work in the SAP Ariba, so some like most of the time you have to work in the integration part itself. So we'll talk about like what like about a like a integration part, like how or what will be the different scenarios in this integration. We'll talk about different scenarios, and mainly we'll talk about the cloud integration gateway, that is the CIG. So we'll talk about CIG, like what is CIG, and what information, what configuration we have to perform in the CIG, how CIG looks like, and whatever config we have to do on the CIG portal, and whatever configuration we have to do in this like our Ariba side. And we'll also talk about like in this like a backend SAP system side as well. So we'll only talk about like some screenshot of the backend SAP system, like whatever different configuration we have to do in the backend SAP system. In the next, we'll talk about like configuration part. So we'll talk about different configuration, that is template configuration, how we can configure the approval workflow, how we can configure, how we can perform this mass data upload, how we can configure the users, how we can configure the catalog, how we can configure the P2P configuration, how to migrate legacy contract, and how we can do some configuration about the supplier as well. That's something we'll discuss. And we'll also discuss about some like overview about the Ariba implementation approach, like how basically we have to implement SAP Ariba, and how what activities we have to perform as a part of this Ariba consultant. That's something we'll talk. And we'll also talk about Ariba supplier network information as well. That's something basically we'll see during our sourcing solutions, like whatever different network IDs Ariba is offering to Ariba supplier. That's something we'll discuss. So this will be the overall like course curriculum. That's something we will discuss in our regular session. All right. Any question here? Is there any question from anyone?
I have one question. So, how long do we have the access to the server while learning?
Okay. Regarding the server and the other step, you can check with Ashish. Ashish will help you.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So this is a practical session, right? The
Definitely,
training.
most of things we have will see. Yes, yes, yes. Most of things
Okay,
like we'll see in the system itself, and even you will have the like option of the server. You can do the hands-on as well. So we'll not talk about much theory part. We'll talk only the practical session itself.
okay. Thank you.
All right.
What would be the course duration, sir?
Sorry.
Yeah, what would be the course duration?
Okay. Basically, this course duration will require around 40 hours. So
Okay,
within 40 to 42 hours, you will be able to complete this course. So you can consider around like 1.5 month. And we'll have the
okay, okay.
session like in the weekdays. So in the weekdays, we'll connect for the 1 hours. Yeah. Okay, so let me show you this thing basically about the Ariba system. This is the Ariba, like that system. I just logged in like by using my credential, and this is something home page of this SAP Ariba, how it looks like. So might be someone of you is already aware about this like Ariba system itself. So here we have the different option, like if you want to like create the different kind of document, like if you want to create supplier, sorry, you want to create like that basically a supplier here, or you want to perform any sourcing project or requisition or contract. So here we can create like different kind of activities. And if you come to this manage button here, manage menu here, so in the manage menu mostly we are doing the configuration part, like in the form of this like that core administration or the administration. So we are doing this configuration part, or we are configuring this our approval workflow, or we can configure our template. So generally like this manage menu we are referring like for all the configuration part. And might be you may also have the same access whatever like that system we are going to discuss see in the system like regular session. you will also have the same system access, and you can that do all the practice itself. Even we'll also talk about the cloud integration gateway, that is CIG portal. So that's something we will see in the regular session. All right, so that's it from my side. If you have any question, please raise your question.
So I'm planning to get the SAP certification. I'm very new to the field, so I have zero experience. So I feel like getting a certification from the SAP would be valuable when I go to the job market. So if I get this certification, do I have to renew it after a while, or just one would be enough?
No, no, no. So this is the limitations of the cloud solutions. So if you go with this Ariba certification, not only with the Ariba or whatever the cloud that solutions are available in the market from the SAP point of view. So the cloud basically that new release is they are releasing the new release in every quarterly. So every 3 months you
Oh,
have to do the renewal. So let's say you are clearing the certification, and after 3 months you have to attempt when they will release that new version. So then they have to go with this that other exam just to keep that certification valid. Otherwise, it will expire within the 4 months.
okay. And so is this courses like the training guided towards getting a certification, or just the training?
Okay, so basically this training will not help you 100% in the certification, because this training mainly will be the realistic and will from system perspective, like mostly will see the live information, like live practice itself. So this training will help you around 50% in the certification, but you also have to refer the certification books. So you can collect some information like study material from the ASIS, and you have to
Okay.
go through that certification books to clear the certification. The thing is that when you go for certification, so certification is not only built for these freshers or only for this experienced guys. So basically that in the certification, they are most of the questions they are asking from the theory part. Around
Okay.
80% questions will get from theory part only. So that is why you have to refer the